Great. All right, well, great night Friday night, but on to the next one, and that's really the theme of what we've been talking to them about yesterday when we went back in the gym and kind of wrapped up the weekend. We've got to be able to do well on the road. We haven't shown that same level of confidence in our ability on the road for 4 events. So, that's true every year. It takes a little while maybe to get to where you're comfortable regardless of the environment. So hopefully this week is the week we can sort of kind of turn that corner a little bit and improve on what we've done on the road so far.
What did y'all do right?
Say it again.
What did y'all do right on Friday?
What did we do right?
Yeah.
We did a lot right. I think the whole week was a sort of a correction that the team decided to make when they walked back in the gym coming out of Arkansas. They owned it, and they wanted to. They understood that some of the things they had been allowing themselves to get away with in practice were not going to be. At some point, we're going to show up, and that's what happened. So I think they hit the reset button, and I think they really recommitted themselves to the mindset and to the consistency of mind in the way that they prepared for that meet. And I don't think it's any coincidence that level of performance carried over. I just think it was an indicator of the entirety of the week, not just lightning struck and we stuck 4 vaults in a row right to start the meet. I think that we see that in the gym an awful lot. It's just a matter of whether the mindset stays consistent all the time. What you do in training will eventually, one way or another, carry over to the competition floor.
You just talked about turning the corner, and then Coach Garrett said last week that he felt like maybe y'all weren't prepared in the correct way to go on the road to Arkansas. So how is it looking different this week in practice and preparation to prepare?
It's not about what we do. It's not about the framework of what we do. It's about the mindset with which they go about it. If they go about it in a mindset that takes things for granted, that it's just practice, or they allow themselves to have turns that are wasteful, then those things show up later. That's what was going on prior. It's not about something we changed in terms of the framework and the day-to-day operation of how we do things. It's about an approach. It's about making sure that every single turn that you take and every time you touch the equipment, that it's intentional and that it matters for something, and that you're attempting to accomplish something or be better than you were the previous turn. And so it's more of a mindset than anything else. And yesterday was good. Yesterday's our light day, so it's hard to tell. So we'll see more today where we're at.
Now that we're 5 meets down the road, what kind of growth have you seen from especially the younger gymnasts, and just overall, how has the team handled the pressure coming into this season?
I think we've seen good growth. I think it's an ongoing process. The entire season will be about growth until we get to the end. We never should stop moving in that direction. I think the young ones have done a great job of kind of assimilating into the fabric of what we do. Been very obviously impressed with Kalia and Kaylin and Lexi and the contributions that they have made already, and expect those to continue to grow as we go. But I think it's a good group. I think that they have all the makings of something really special, and that they just have to continue to keep their head down and keep pushing towards that in the ways that we know work for us.
Obviously, to do well, you have to have your star gymnasts, star performers, but you have to have your role players too, people who contribute, specialists, I guess you would say, in gymnastics, like Alexis. Mm-hmm. What does she and what do gymnasts like her, like Sierra, bring to the team? And also, then ask the naturally the Haley Bryant question of the week: how's she look on vault?
Well, when we talk to our team, we talk about every single role being equally important. It's not, y'all the ones that make them into stars. It's not us. It's just because somebody does 4 events doesn't necessarily make them a star. And I understand the recognition of achievement across 4 events and all those things, but the reality is that when you look at the fabric of a team and the day in and day out interactions that go on and the what goes behind being successful on every event, 6 deep or deeper, it takes everybody, and many times it's even people that don't compete at all that make a difference, and that's hard for people on the outside to believe that don't live in that room with us and that don't go through the things that we go through and have the conversations that we have. But it is the reality. Bryce Wilson's very important to us. She doesn't show up in a score sheet, but she's very important to the sort of spiritual makeup of our team. She's always got something. She always seems to read the tea leaves and know exactly what her teammates need to hear, prior to a competition. And there's example after example of that. Yes, Lexi Jeffrey is a tremendous specialist on one event and gives us depth on both beam and floor as well. And you can go down the list there's so many to mention. So we genuinely try internally not to emphasize anything other than that, is that every role, whatever role you find yourself in, embrace it fully, because there is no role more important than another. And there are roles that get more press clippings, but there are not roles that are more important in terms of what we do.
Like in baseball, there's guys that hit the ball all through fall ball to get out in front of 10,000 fans at Ellick Box and they can't do it. And what's also like a freshman like Chio, what kind of makeup does it take to step in front of all those fans and win all arounds in her first year of college?
You gotta have a competitive edge to you that is unflappable, and she definitely has that. I think you saw her kind of tighten up a little bit for a week or two after she had the immediate success, but the conversations that she and I had were about letting things happen organically that happened organically in the first place, instead of all of a sudden you have this early success and then you start trying to press to repeat it or duplicate and change your approach. Her approach should be autopilot and kind of unplug the brain. She loves to really analyze everything that she does when it's not a great turn, and that can be frustrating for me as a coach when I want her to just let go and go, because I think sometimes the brain can get in the way if you're not careful, and she obviously did a great job of that this past week, and that's just part of the maturation process of. You see that all the time in other sports, as you mentioned. You see sophomore slumps and things like that come after someone had this great. They took the world by storm as a freshman, and then for whatever reason you can't figure out what happens in the following year. It generally surrounds a mental approach that's trying to duplicate something or be better, and that's a trap. That's trap thinking, and that's something that we try to address as much as possible to avoid.
It feels like we've really seen the growth of Chase Brock this season. What are you seeing from her and what she brings to this team from her role and also within leadership, with her being a veteran on this team?
Chase is just a great kid. I mean, it hasn't been easy for her, all the way through. She's had her ups and downs, and she's had moments of success. I would agree that this is probably the most consistent, sustained level of success that we've seen her have, and she's confident right now, and that's really great for her, because that hasn't always been the case. Confidence has in the past had always been sort of the thing that was lacking for her. So sort of like what I just said, in the past, if Chase had success, she would then start pressing to try to duplicate it all the time, and it would kind of derail her momentum. Right now, she's really handling her success very well and staying level-headed, and I think really genuinely has some confidence in her ability to do it now, and that's growth for her, because that hasn't always been the case.
it's going to seem self-serving, but how pleased are you that your bars rotation has really elevated itself over the last couple of years to the point that it's at now?
I mean, has it? I don't even really know how to answer that. I look at everything sort of holistically from a completeness standpoint. I really try not to individualize certain events or things of that nature. I try to identify where our holes are and where we may need to improve and try to attack those things. In some years, you can do it because you have the ability there and it's just got to get a little more refined. And other times you have to kind of smoke and mirror it, to get it to just stay competitive on a particular event and not let one event kill you, And so I just think, I don't know. We've got a lot of familiar faces in this year's, bar lineup and across the board. I think they're comfortable in their role and they're very consistent and they're a confident bunch. We really don't have an event that I look at and think there's a hole there. And now, do we need to improve in consistency in spots on various places? Absolutely. And some of our depth needs to do a better job of being prepared to go in if called upon. And I talked to them about that yesterday, but on balance, I think this is as complete a team as we've had around here.
Since you dodged my Haley Bryant question earlier, I asked you about her and KJ then. How'd she come out of doing vault? I'm kidding, of course. How'd she do coming out of vault? Can you see her doing something else this week or soon?
KJ is so important to us. Just that's one of those things I was talking about, that everybody's role is important. KJ's edge and personality and there's a ferociousness about the way she does gymnastics. There's a ferocity to it, and it's contagious when we get into competition. And so I don't think there's any question about the fact that when she landed that ball Friday night, that it was in part largely responsible for the ensuing momentum that we caught. And I'd love for her to get going on floor. She's close. I don't know how close. I'd have to talk to Courtney on that. Obviously, it's a little easier to come back on an event like vault, which is very quick, than it is one that requires a little more endurance when you've been out for several weeks. But she's feeling better, and her presence is back, and that's as big a boost as anything. Do I think getting her back out there on floor would be a big shot in the arm? Yeah. I mean, we all know. I mean, how many times did she go 995 in a row over the last 2 years on floor? Yeah. I mean, her floor routine is dynamic. We also have Kalia close on floor, and so we're moving in the right direction. It's a slow process, and I know week to week sometimes you want to know what's next. Okay, we got KJ back on ball, so the natural line of thinking is what comes next. And with Haley coming back, when's the next event going to be added? But Haley did vault yesterday and looked good doing that. She doesn't have a lot of numbers in the tank, so I stopped short of saying she'll vault this weekend. But it's possible. It's possible. We'll see what the rest of the week brings. But she looked good, and she had no setbacks, and that's the main thing, is that we didn't have anything with the elbow that flared up or anything like that. So hopefully, being as judicious as we have been, that will pay dividends for us when we really need it most, late in the back third of the season.
Even last year winning the national championship, inconsistency or searching for consistency is nothing new, right? You had the meet at Florida and Missouri that didn't go your way, and so this year you've got the Arkansas meet so now this week the challenge is, hey, not hostile crowd, but maybe a little bit on the road, how do we perform?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about that too. I love going places where there's energy, even if it's energy that's not for us. It's a whole lot better than being in an arena that's vapid and has no no real juice. So we love going to places where the crowds are big. We know that the Alabama program is a storied program. They've got an ardent fan base that has been supportive of their program a long, long time, and we generally compete very well over there. So hopefully that's the case again. But again, our measuring stick is us. It's not about who else is on the floor with us. And I think that's true in any sport. Finding your consistency during the regular season is true. It's rare in anything that you see, run the table undefeated seasons. I know 2019 was something special that we see happen here, but that doesn't happen as often as it used to. And so there are hiccups that come along. And in a sport like ours where the mental part is so big, I've in this room, I've equated it to golf a lot because, you can have 3 great rounds and then Sunday at the Masters fall apart, and so the mental game of what we do is, I heard you guys ask Jeff and Aaliyah that. It's a tremendous part of what we do, and that's the part you have to iron out the most. These guys know how to physically do their gymnastics. There's not a whole lot of learning gymnastics going on at this point right now. It's about getting into the right competitive mindset day in and day out and training yourself to be there, not relying on being able to flip a switch and be able to turn it on when you go somewhere. It's about preparing mentally to compete in the same mindset that you want to be in, and that's difficult for some and easy for others. And the idea is to get them all on the same page at the right time, and sometimes we do go through those growing pains, and we did so 2 weeks ago.